Okay, three, two, one, start. So, everyone, after Magellan and Francisco Pizarro, we're up to the next explorers. And here's his picture. He looked like Chaplin. So his name is Samuel de Champlain, and he was a famous French explorer. So now here will be a brief introduction about who he is. So first, he was born in 1574 and died in 1635, not in French, but in Quebec, which is Canada. He is also the founder of Quebec, famous French explorer and navigator, known as the father of Quebec, and sort of the first people who ever been to Canada. Earlier, so Samuel's first voyage is with his uncle. Why? Wait a second. Why you jump off from the childhood? Why you just go through earlier? Simply because Samuel didn't have any record about his childhood, and no, there's no other information stated about what happened to him when he was young. We can only have some estimated about religions and family history. So Samuel's first voyage is with his uncle for Spanish exploring the West India. But wait, I thought Samuel was French. How did he get to Spain? Simple. Well, that time they're having war between Spanish and French, and so Samuel was being ordered to transform some prisoner from French to Spain. So they are returning the prisoner back to Spanish. So they get to Spain, and the king of Spain admired the skills of Samuel and his uncle. So then they hire Samuel to explore the West Indies for Spain. 1603, he joined the fleet of DuPont to Canada. At this time, he returned to Canada already. During exploration, he didn't really have any work to do. He don't really have an official name. Like he's not a lieutenant, he's not a soldier, he's not a cook or something. He don't really have a official work to do. But he actually proved his ability with excellent navigating skill. 1505, they went to New England and explored until they reached a place named Cape of Gold. To Canada. 1608, Samuel was sent to Canada again, but this time he was on his own. He was being officially knighted as a lieutenant to explore Canada. He arrived in June of 1608, and they built the city after they get there, and they named the city Quebec, which became the center of fur trade. At that time, fur trade is already exist, but not wild use. Due to the contribution of Samuel de Champlain, fur trade became popular in Europe, which also bring Quebec some enemies, which I will talk about later. Dealing with the tribes. As many explorer happens is the native doesn't really cooperate, which is well normal. Like, would you want to welcome someone and break in your house and start saying, "This room is mine, and I'm living here. I'm eating food over here. Drink water from here. Taking your properties and stuff." Like, you definitely won't like him. The same ideas. Native doesn't really welcome those Europeans. Sometimes they fight, but I think Samuel de Champlain was the lucky one that he successfully negotiated with the tribes. So in 1609, Samuel had his first battle with the Iroquois. Wait, what? You just said Samuel have peace treaties between them. Yeah, they did. Well, things happen like this. When you're having peace treaty with one tribe, as opposed as tribe number A, and then tribe number A is fighting with tribe number B, which makes tribe number B your enemy. As the ally of tribe number A, you have to help to tribe number A, so you have to go fight tribe number B. So then you make enemies. And then in this battle, he started the war with Icarus continued for like century long. Well, 1615, Samuel the Champlain take a risk, and they enter the territory of Huron with some soldiers and some native people. They successfully negotiate and became allies and friends. But um, while he's negotiating with the Hurons, the Icarus come again. So then he joined the battles of Hurons and Icarus because Hurons was too rush of attacking. So then they lose the battle. Unfortunately, Samuel the Champlain got shot. Well, technically not shot. Well, get hit by arrows on the knee, which makes him unable to walk. Okay, mistake. Unable to walk, not he was could walk or whatever. He was unable to walk. And during the time he was unable to walk, so because he's unable to walk, so he stayed in the territory of Hurons for the winter, and he wrote the most, well, not really the most, the earliest and the most detailed book about Native American life at that time. More trouble. After this, trouble's not over yet. Later on, Samuel de Champlain returned to France in 1616, and somehow he's being sued. He being sued for some crime he did not done, and get put into the prison. In the prison, he wrote the story of his voyage, maps, and drawings, which gave us lots of resources about what happens in Quebec now. But he didn't wrote much about his childhood, which makes his childhood mysterious. 4 years later, he returned to Canada. During the prison time, he persuasive the King of France to let him go back so that he can expand the territory of France. So then the king let him go. Became the co-CEO of the company 100 Association. Okay, so what happened is this. So now after then, King of France sent a governor named Charlie. So he sent him over there, and they built a company like stuff. And so now Champlain does not have real power to command stuff. Because he have to basically follow the order of the French king. So then Charlie explained the territory for France and creates problem with the native, which destroyed the work of Samuel de Champlain already did. And this is not it yet. England attacked Quebec for the fur trade. As I have mentioned, fur trade became pretty important in the Europe, and England is pretty greedy and they hate France, so then they take over Quebec for fur trade. Well, they attack and they just surrounded the Quebec City and locked the food and water supply. So in 1629, Samuel had no choice but accept to surrender. 3 years later, France got Quebec back from British with a negotiation. Since then, British start taking over America from France, and later on became the owner of America. And United States of America fight back. And then France joined the war and helped America, and British was defeated, and they signed contract in Paris and accept America as a country. So, so whatever. That has no relationship to deal with Champlain. So whatever. So 1632, France got Quebec back from British, and year later, Samuel returned to Quebec as the governor again. He received his death 2 years later on the Christmas Day because of illness. Rest in peace. And that is the whole story of Samuel de Champlain. Okay, in conclusion, Samuel de Champlain founded Quebec, funded the fur trade, grew pretty good relationship with the natives, and led Quebec became a pretty strong city. In today, still, Quebec was important city and was also a state of Canada, thanks to Samuel de Champlain. And this is it. Next video, we'll be talking about a Chinese settler who have been known that actually went to America first before Columbus. Well, technically, some people say he did, some people say he didn't, but we do not know. Next time, we're going to talk about Zheng He, the Chinese settler.